I'm going to start with a question. Do you like questions or not? Okay. Okay. So, on an average, how many brands do you pitch? I mean, the dream brands that you really want to work on, and how successful have you been in pitching them? Come on, tell me. No? Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the reason is not that, probably the people out here are not pitching the right thing, or there are not enough takers to take that kind of stuff. The reason is, sometimes we don't understand what clients are looking for, and that's why we are not able to retrofit our products to them. Having worked on the brand side, I speak more from like what clients are looking for. I have worked on Coca-Cola and other brands for 15 years, and I've worked with influencers. So the majority of the presentation that you're going to see will be coming from my experience. So let's move on. Okay, I'm a brand strategist. Like, I have handled the brand strategy of the leading brands, whether it is Coca-Cola or Microsoft or any brands, for 15 years. Plus, I'm a travel journalist. But this session is not about me. This session is all about you. So you can always come back and ask me questions after the session. So let me tell you how the presentation is going to flow. So I'm going to start with the learnings from Coca-Cola and connection planning and role of influencers. Okay, so knowledge is knowing the right answers. However, intelligence is asking the right questions. So today, I'm here to tell you, like, when you pitch a brand, what are the kind of questions you should first ask before pitching to the brands? So, first of all, we are going to deconstruct how brands handle the influencer marketing. So we'll talk about, when brands are looking for influencers, why do they look for influencers? This is the most crucial question. And then, how do they choose influencers? And what are their expectations? And where do they go to find influencers? So, first of all, what is connection planning? Connection planning is a new approach to connect with the audience in a very meaningful and engaging way, where every connection point is taken as an opportunity to improve the brand health. Okay, so does this diagram say anything? Does it make any sense? Okay, so in the traditional marketing approach, what happens is agencies would think about the idea and then retrofit in the environment. However, at Coca-Cola, what we used to do is, when we used to think about the idea, we would think about the environment first. So it wouldn't be like we'll first think about a television commercial and then think how it's going to come on digital, how it's going to come in the events. So each and every idea has to be liquid and linked. Liquid and linked means that, it should be able to generate conversations on its own. Okay, this is the extremely important slide. You might have a big marketing budget and there could be thousands of things that you could do. But good marketing is from all the things that you could do to the things what you should do. Okay, so that was a bit about the Coca-Cola, what kind of strategy we used to use. Now is, this is extremely important, when you're pitching to brand. You need to understand why brands look for influencers. Essentially, there are three things why brands look for influencers. First is, okay, I'm going to give you some case studies. I'll explain it through examples. So first is, when the brands are launching some new products or are coming out with some big numbers and they want to reach out to a sizable audience. And millennials or even in today's time, there's so many media. You cannot reach them by one singular media. And that's where the role of influencers has become so big. So first is, so this was for Coca-Cola campaign last year for the Olympics. This was the first time that Coca-Cola was using the influencers at such a big scale. They were targeting teens, and I'll let the video talk about it. Oops, sorry.
We really want to focus on teens and getting teens to own That's Gold. So we've added a whole awesome echelon of influencers, which is this insane group of kids, ages really 18 to, I would say, 25, that have massive social media audiences.
I have partnered with Coca-Cola for the 2016 Olympic Games.
And what we're doing is giving them That's Gold and showing them what the program's all about and asking them to own it and to define what That's Gold might be to their audiences.
It's pretty innovative for a global campaign. We are having global influencers that will produce content as well as distribute.
We knew we wanted influencers to be a part of this program the minute we heard about That's Gold. We looked for people who had global relevance, who loved Coke and loved the Olympics. They all have strong Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and Instagram followers in Latin America, in Asia, in North America, and there's no better way to hit a massive, massive audience.
One of our objectives is to measure how efficient are these influencers, how this compares with other type of media.
We've done work with smaller one-off influencer projects, but this is the first time it's been integrated into a program. And because of the way we've activated it and done it, we are able to toolkit the approach and then help markets around the globe start their own influencer networks. And I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest legacies of this program.
So this was actually a very big campaign wherein it was activated around the globe, and it was very successful. And after that, influencers have become a big part of Coca-Cola. So the first objective is, when the brands are trying to reach a sizable audience, so that is one thing why brands look for influencers. Other is, when brands want to engage with the audience. So in this case, lynda.com, they are an online resource if you want to learn something new. However, the marketing problem which they had was like, everybody has ad blocker. So how do you reach the audience? The moment your ad comes in, they are not going to see it because ad blocker is there. So what they did was they tied up with influencers, the YouTubers basically, and they asked them to create content. So there's this guy who has around 20 million of users. Jack Douglas is his name. So what he did, he had a property called Yesterday I Asked You This. So he would make video of the things that he would have learned, and he'll put it online and he'll ask his audience, okay, this is what I learned yesterday. Tell me what you're going to learn and share it with me. And next day he will use their content and share it. And he reached around like 2 million audience, which they would have never been able to get through normal advertising. So this was like one reason why brands want to use influencers, which is resonance, when they want to have engagement. Another example, you will think Zara is such a big brand, why would they need to work with influencers? The marketing problem which Zara was having was, their Instagram page, it looked like as it is from a catalog, from a fashion catalog, and people thought, okay, they make good runway clothes and all that. So people were not able to take it that their clothes are for real people and real people wear them. So they associated with this girl called Tish Rosa, wherein she created her own videos, her own post and all that. And the posts were all about, she wearing the Zara clothes. And the campaign was named as I Am Denim. And they got like 500,000 with just her videos. And they were able to position it that Zara is for real people and these are real clothes. So the three things whenever you're pitching to brands, think about, are you going to pitch them for the reach? If you have a good sizable audience, say, I can help you with the reach. Or tell them, I can help you with the engagement. Or tell them, see, hey, I'm relevant. I'm into adventure travel or I'm into food. That's why I'll be able to reach out to more relevant audience. So these are the three things when brands are making strategies to reach out to brands, they think about this. Okay, now how brands select influencers? We would think probably they'll just go by the numbers and everything, but it's far more trickier than that. A whole lot of things go. Okay, so usually there are 4 things that they apply. This is what we also used to do in Coca-Cola, is 4-pronged strategy. So first is the influence pyramid. I'm gonna talk about it in detail in the next slides. Second is whether they're going to opt for niche audience or they're going to opt for influencers who have a mass reach. And are they looking for engagement or are they looking for reach? And do they have short-term goals or do they have long-term goals? First one. So what happens is every brand works with influencers in this triangle size. So what happens at the bottom are your customers or advocates, which you don't have to pay for. They are like, if they like something, they're gonna say, hey, I had a great meal here. Hey, I love this facility and whatever. And the topmost are your VIPs or celebrities, your Kim Kardashians and other people. And the bottom one, that's where we guys are. That's where the chunk is. That's where the people are realizing how important it is. So, but what happens is, when it comes to choosing what kind of influences you're looking for a campaign, the brand always looks at the marketing objective. For example, in the case of Coca-Cola, you guys must be remembering last year, Taste the Feeling campaign was launched for Coca-Cola. So it was a very big campaign. We were changing from open happiness to taste the feeling. So the objective was to reach as many number of people as you can. So what we did was we had a whole gamut of influencers, right from VIP celebrities to grassroots level influencers. So let me just show you, like for example, in Philippines, we had signed up the 10 celebrities out there, the top 10 celebrities which were there. We had signed up their fan clubs. We had signed up like all the people who would be able to get us the maximum reach. So this was clearly for a reach campaign. However, for the other campaign, which was for a out-of-home meal campaign, what we did was we tied up with a California-based vlogger because we wanted to tell the people that food tastes better with Coca-Cola. So if you will have a celebrity, probably people will not believe it. They said, hey, they're a celebrity. They would be doing it for the money. So you want somebody who you can relate to. So that's where we roped in this guy. I'll just show you.
At syempre naman, we're here to find out if it is bagay na bagay with Coke. Wait, siya nga pala, itingnan mo to. Mukhang bagay na eh. Coke, 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 Coke.
Chibog time!
Chibog is let's eat. So there was this webisode series, so it ran for multiple campaigns.
Energy! Energy!
Lively,
Kumusta kayo
very
lahat? What's up, party people? I finally made it here! In Ilocos, Northern Philippines, with the Dasify, with the Vlog Squad, kain na tayo ng sagad. You already know.
Vlog time! We are here with the Vlog Squad. This is Haley Dasovich, and we are in Ilocos to find out which Ilocano foods best pair with Coca-Cola. And you know what that means?
Oh, let's not forget that I'm here, and we are in the beautiful town of Luwag. And we're going to check out what this place has to offer, so come with us on this magical adventure.
So, nandito na kasama.
Okay, so it's a long video. I can share it later on. Otherwise, they'll not be able to speak about it. So, but the whole point was, you know, that brands work with whole gamut of influencers. So, if you know, like, what is the objective brand is having, like, for example, the first quarter is usually the big launches. So, if you have good reach, that's the best time to approach them. But if you are, if it's the middle of the season or the Christmas season where they're trying to create more engagement, then that's the time. So it's always important. That is what we used to say. Look at the activity calendar of a brand. Look at their previous year works and then pitch. Okay, so this is like the key takeout from this slide. Okay, so next one, niche over mass. So initially what used to happen is we always used to look for people who would be doing food, who would be doing a lot of stuff. But now we started going into niche because what happens is you cannot be everything to everyone. Brands want to work with the people who are experts in their field. So if you will say, hey, I talk about food, I talk about adventure, I talk about fashion. No, it's not going to cut eyes. Even if you have lesser number of followers, brands would be okay to work with that. And second rule, brands don't want to work with people who don't have a story behind. Now this is an interesting example. I'm sure every one of you would have seen this. Do you remember this? Yeah. Okay, this is the classic case of what not to do. So Pepsi got in somebody who had nothing to do with the cause that they were talking about, and they got so much flag for it. You know, they've got a fashion model and she was talking all about this, which people didn't believe. On the other hand, Coca-Cola. They got Selena Gomez. She's also a celebrity. But the environment she was put in was something different. You know, I don't know, maybe you can't read it, but it says, it feels great to have your lyrics on the bottle. She's a singer, and that's the way you should use a celebrity. This picture is the top most liked picture in the history of Instagram till date. Yes. So it's the right way to use a celebrity, and that's the wrong way. Inauthentic and forced never ever works. Right. So, what's the key takeout from this slide? Find your niche, be authentic, and remain consistent, because your viewers, your audience, they get used to what you're talking about. The moment you share something different, they'll say, hey, this is not her expert field, this is not what she talks about. Maybe somebody is paying for that. So find your niche, be authentic, and remain consistent. Okay, so what is happening is, there was this study. So there are a lot of studies which happen. So as per the study which was done by Instagram and Marketly last year, people who have followers in the list of say 1,000 to 100,000 and 10,000 to 100,000, they have the best match of the engagement as well as reach. If you see, the moment you cross 100,000, your graph starts dropping, and brands are slowly realizing that it's far more better to have people who have more engagement, who have more likes, who have more comments and all that. So what's the takeout? You have to be a conversation starter over reach extender. Focus on organic engagement. That's the key. I'll give an example. In Sprite, when we were doing a campaign, so we had taken 2 influencers. So both had great followers and everything, but one influencer was engaging quite a lot. Like, he was replying to audience, his response time was very less, versus the other who just did whatever the brand asked him to do. And get the second influencer for the next campaign, whereas the first one who was engaging more, we got him on board and he became a partner for multiple campaigns. So the key is for focus on organic engagement. Okay, this was a case study. Okay, short-term versus long-term association. I would really like to emphasize on this slide. This is important not from influencers' point of view, but even from brands' point of view. Because from influencers' point of view, it is important, like, you don't have to go to 15 people and pitch them. If you go to 5 people, and if you promise less but over-deliver, they're going to come back to you. So it will minimize your efforts as well. And even for brands, it's a wastage of time, resource, finding new people to work for. So brands are moving away from one post, one check type of contractual relationship to long-term. So the key takeout, present a holistic and long-term picture. When you're talking to brands, ask them, what are your marketing objectives? What are you expecting from this campaign? Brands really love when you ask them questions, when they see that you're genuinely interested. Okay, what brands expect from influencers? This actually decides whether you're gonna get a repeat campaign from them or not. This is where most of the people falter. So, first thing is understand. I cannot stretch more on this. First of all, asset briefing. I showed you the That's Gold campaign. Can you take a guess how much in advance we were talking to the influencer, or how much in advance we briefed them? Take a guess. Okay.
6 months.
Okay, 18 months. So yeah, 18 months is like when we had finalized them. But before that, you can imagine, like, it was already going on. So asset briefing is something that we deliberately do at Coca-Cola. So that is something not most brands are doing, but you should ask for it. You should ask, what are your brand values? What do you stand? What do you expect? And research. Look at what they have advertised. Look at what they are expecting. What kind of campaigns they have run. Brand values. You should reflect their brand values in your campaign. Look at the tonality they use. Be authentic. Don't ever copy. Stay authentic. And challenge brands by co-creating content. Brands really love if you challenge them. Engage. Take ownership real-time response. I just gave you an example of how we got one influencer for the Sprite campaign as a repeat influencer and other not. So if you'll engage, brands would love it. Avoid missing deadlines, not fulfilling contract, bad communication, direct competition. So this is the slide that you have to be really, really, really careful when you're pitching to brands. Okay, so where do brands look for influencers? We are all made up of social media, so it's but obvious they're going to see it on social media. But there are certain things that they use. For example, in the case of Coca-Cola, we have a thing called CIC, which is Customer Engagement Center. There is a dedicated team, like in Philippines, we had like 40 people who were just listening to the conversations which were happening. So if you're using hashtags, if you're tagging the brands, if you're spreading a positive word, there's a high chance they're going to come to you and make you their ambassador. And then there are certain tracking tools which they use. MozRank, DAP ranking, your blog, Alexa ranking, SimilarWeb, CloudCred. I'm sure every one of us know about it. So improve on that, work on that. Keyword search and hashtags, tag the brands, use the right keywords. Industry per user. They're always checking what the competition brands are doing or what are the events happening. So sometimes whenever there's a new campaign, they'll go back to the list, you'll probably get a call. So it's important to attend events. It's important to be a part of the magazines or the industry things which are happening. Okay, if I were to summarize, these are the 4 key questions that you should keep in mind whenever you are pitching to brands. Why a brand need influencers? How do they select influencers? What are their expectations? Where are the influencer side? Like how do they deal?
Archsta did a great job, and we're here to talk to you a little bit more about some practical tips that you guys can use when pitching brands. So just taking a quick second to introduce ourselves. My name is Victoria Yor.
And my name is Terrence Drysdale. You can't really tell who we look like from that.
I know. Here we are.
This is us.
And we are with Follow Me Away, and we're also here today representing H21 Connect, which is a brand new platform that is for free, and it connects you, people like us, with brands across the world. Bear with us. And so for Follow Me Away, I do the writing and social media, and he does the photography and videography.
And in addition to our blog, we also have our Follow Me Away project, in which Victoria is the model, usually freezing in locations, as you can see in that picture. And where I'm the cozy, warm photographer, just chilling, taking pictures. Our mission for the project is to redefine what travel photography is, and we could talk about that all day, but that's not why we're here.
No. So, oh man, you can't see that picture either. Well, this was a diagram of some of the brands that we have worked with over the past year. We've only been around for about a year and a half, and we've had this success. But we're here, as Archana said, not about us, not to talk about our success, but to talk about your guys' brand and how you can accomplish some of the same things. So I'm just going to step over here, because it's better for us to just be on the other side. So today we're just going to quickly go over some of the things that you're going to learn. You're going to learn what gets you noticed, and more importantly, what doesn't. So what will get your email or pitch email possibly deleted.
We're also going to share a personal experience of how we were taken advantage of by a major brand and how you can avoid the same thing happening to you.
And finally, we're going to show you guys how to follow up and close a deal, because let's be honest, that's the most important part of pitching. So before we get started, there are a few important lessons that we want you to remember. And I know that it might sound redundant, but it's really important. And the first is never sit and wait for brands to come to you. And believe it or not, that's what a lot of influencers do. They wait for a brand to come to them. But who cares the most about your brand? That's you. You will be your biggest advocate. So it's up to you to reach out to brands and reach for your dream partnerships if that's what you're interested in.
Exactly. And like anything you do in life, you get out of it the amount of time you put into it. And the same thing goes for pitching. So be prepared to put a lot of time into researching brands and preparing the perfect pitch.
So if you're feeling stuck or struggling, remember that everyone has been there. Everyone has been in your shoes. So even if you're like, oh, wow, that influencer is so fantastic, they've been right where you're standing at today. No matter what your problem is, you're not the first person that's experienced it. So it's a good little grounding mechanism to remember.
Exactly. And to go along with that, you should also...
It's 11 o'clock.
Well, now you know. Now you know.
Now you guys know. Scared me. It's like, what's happening? So you should also be prepared for a lot of no's. We sure as heck have received our fair share. But the main thing is to not let it discourage you. It's part of the process, and it will happen.
Exactly. And finally, as Archana said, being small does not mean that you do not provide value. A lot of small influencers don't want to reach out because they're like, oh, we're not valuable. But there's more to that. There's engagement. It's not necessarily only about how many followers you have. So it's important to understand your value and then showcase your value to brands. So the most popular way of pitching is pitching over email. So the first thing that you should do, at least you want to get your email open, right? So you need to have a strong email subject that catches the attention of that brand manager who's really going to make that decision. A weak opener is a surefire way to definitely get that email deleted. So second of all, you want to make sure that your email focuses on helping the brand accomplish their goals. We are here as influencers to help the brand. It's not about us. It's not about all the free stuff we can get. It's about how we can fill that niche space that needs to be filled, that brand needs to accomplish their goals.
Yep, and you should also include one reason in your pitch as to why your blog is unique. I'm sure everybody in here has different reasons as to why theirs is. And along with that, brands, they receive hundreds of emails every day and cast most of them aside probably for being generic. You don't want to fall into that category. So along with that pitch, you also want to include your relevant website and reader demographic, the past partnerships that you might have had, and yeah.
And you also want to make sure that your pitch comes off as confident, not cocky, because as Terrence said, the brand managers are busy, and if they open your email and they see that as a self-serving attitude, they don't have time for that. They are going to delete that email and move on because no one wants to deal with that. So again, as I said, it's most important to at least get your pitch email opened. And these are some real-life examples of what works and what doesn't. So there are two things that really work across the influencer pitching network, I guess. And that would be having a professional email opener and a unique email opener. And professional is the best way to go about it, the best rule of thumb. So as you can see, language like press inquiry or partnership is really elevated and professional. And telling the date, such as June 2018, gives that brand a little insight into what you're asking and what time of year you're asking to partner with them before they even open up that email. Now, a lot of influencers have had success with a unique email opener as well, such as this one right here. And so if you have a creative idea and you already have a story lined up and you're pitching a brand, feel free to include a little bit more of a creative headline to what you might think that campaign will be about. Now, as Archana said, the unique approach might be more of a one-time approach for that brand, whereas professional might be for more of a long-term partnership.
Yeah, so if there's good ways to do it, there's unfortunately bad ways to do it as well. And these are actually some examples that we've used in the past. As you see, this says blogger-photographer partnership for November.
Very embarrassing.
And it does include, the month, like Victoria had mentioned, as a good example. But unfortunately, there's a negative sense towards the word blogger when you include that in your pitch. And a lot of people think bloggers, they only want free stuff. So try to avoid using that terminology when you're pitching.
So in your pitch, you want to use it to ask questions from the brand. So introduce yourself, say hello, introduce a little bit about your brand. Before you launch into it, you want to ask that brand manager how that company typically works with influencers or what their company's history of working with influencers is. And the reason behind this is because you want to put the ball in that brand's court. So if you just said, this is an article or this is a pitch all about me, what are they going to really have to respond to? It's either going to be yes or no. But if you ask them questions to keep the conversation going, they will respond with how they've worked with influencers, and then that gives you a little insight into, okay, well, this is a way I can provide my services, or this might not be a good fit. Now, as Archana said, with the looking at the activity calendar, you want to do a little bit of research before you pitch. So, and some good places to look at the bottom are press releases, websites, and the brand social media accounts, because these are places that they are actually updating live, especially social media accounts and their website. So if you want to peek into what they're doing, check it out and include some language in your pitch, such as, we know it's the goal of the tourism board to do such and such, or we know you're expanding to multiple cities this quarter. And this shows the brand that you really care and that you don't need instant gratification, and that you actually took the time to research their brand. You're not just out there saying, give me free stuff. You're actually, you're invested in their company.
So let's talk a little bit about media kits. I'm sure all of you know what that is. If you don't, basically what it is just an attachment that you send along with your pitch that includes all of your relevant information, so your demographics, your Facebook followers, Instagram, all that. So we don't personally send them in the traditional way. We don't send them as an attachment. What we do is we include it within the body of our email.
So including your information in the body of your email, instead of like a traditional media kit and attachment, will give that brand manager all of your information before their very eyes. So they aren't going to have to spend any time researching. They're not even going to spend any time opening the attachment, because people are busy and they don't have time to even perhaps open your attachment. Also, there's a higher open rate for emails without attachments. So that brand manager might not hate you. They might just have gotten your email sent to their spam server if you sent your email, your original pitch, with an attachment. And we've had great success with this method, and we know a few others that have had it too. So just include everything in the original email or in an email format instead of in a attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Guess I should have saved higher quality photos.
Well, I'm very sorry, but these are two of my main examples. It's not even showing up on here though. I don't know what happened, but I'm just going to talk quickly about it. In addition to working with Follow Me Away, I'm also a brand manager. I manage clients' influencer programs. So I manage for five international clients, and what that means is that people pitch me on a daily basis. I'm getting pitched across all platforms, across all different types of social medias and email. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see my real life examples of what does not work today. But in this one, the person pitched saying that they have 15,000 followers. Can we be a brand ambassador? And as Archana said, follower count sometimes really doesn't matter, especially with the lower followers like 15,000. It's more about engagement. So if that person had approached us and said, we have really great engagement, so on and so forth, that would have been a different story. But instead, they simply said, we have 15,000 followers and we're a photo influencer, give us a product. That's not an acceptable way to pitch brands. And unfortunately, I'd say about 95% of our pitches come off that way. In this one, excuse me, they say a similar language, and they also say, excuse me, are you interested in providing us with samples? No, brands are really busy. They're not just going to provide you with samples just because you asked. So you have to really show the brand value and at least ask the brand how they work with influencers and what they're interested in. You're not going to be able to see the examples of the real life do's either, and I don't know why it's not showing up on the computer either, else I turn it around and be like, look. But the slides will be up later on TBEX's website if you want to check it out. But I guess the couple things that I want to say about these slides is pitching on social media is honestly a no-go for sending a full pitch. Social media is more informal, whereas pitching is really the start of a business relationship. Whether it's paid or unpaid, it's still a business relationship. So you really want to use social media to reach out to that brand and ask for a better contact, ask for a better email to contact, ask for a better phone number to contact, and then really reach out with your full pitch there. So that's what this person did here. this person here, I know you can't see, but they were a smaller influencer. They only had 7,000 followers, whereas our influencers usually have about 50 to 70,000 followers. And she came out to us and she said that she has a low following. She understands that. She showed us what she was going to provide, and she showed us that she had great engagement. So for 7,000 followers, she had 2,000 to 3,000 likes per photo and a lot of comments on every photo. So as Archana said, brands are really looking for that engagement, and that's true from our brand side as well. So a little bit later today, some of you guys may have the opportunity to do speed networking, which means you aren't going to get to sit behind the computer, which is really convenient. You actually have to go talk to people. So here's a few ways to make that successful.
Yeah, and I think the best way is to always start personal. Start with the personal sentiment. Understand that, well, first off, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a photographer, and I can honestly tell you I really don't like talking about photography all day, like every day. I like to talk about other things. So same things go for these brands. So approach them maybe for the first minute or so of your conversation. Just talk about the city that you're in, maybe if they're enjoying it or not. And also remember one key detail from that conversation for when it's time to follow up. And make sure that you write that down immediately, like on your business card, because all of the conversations that you're going to have throughout the day, they all might blend together. You might forget who said what. But this is an important note to have for when it's time to follow up. It's a good way to start the conversation.
Exactly. So when you follow up, like he said, you can put that in your follow-up email. So we're going to give a quick example of something that actually happened to us here at TBEX yesterday. We were talking with Brian from the Ireland Tourism Board, and we had approached him after one of the talks. And so I was like, all right, since I'm talking about pitching, I need to do everything that I said, right? So we had talked to him, and then the first question that I'd asked is, how is the Ireland Tourism Board looking to work with influencers, and what is their brand goals? And he had said, over the course of the week working with TBEX, he was at the Influencer Summit before a lot of us got here. And a lot of those people who I probably look up to, a lot of great bloggers, were talking about themselves. They were not asking him how they can help Ireland. They were just talking about what they can offer, and that's what they launched into. And he said the fact that we didn't do that really struck a chord with him. And he said that we can use it in the presentation as an example, because he really hopes that more people come up to brands and ask them what they're interested in, not just me, this is what I can provide.
And then we wound up talking about photography too.
And then we wound up talking about photography too. So it's a good rule of thumb after you do the personal introduction, as Terrence said, to take notes to ask questions about the brand and what their goals are. And then when you do talk about you, this is the time to keep it concise, just a quick bio. You really don't want to pull out all the bells and whistles for this in person, because it's so quick, it's so loud. So you want to save that for your follow-up, which will come in about 2 weeks. Because people are busy. They've been preparing for this conference for a long time, as have a lot of us. And so you want to give them time to get home, get relaxed, and remember your conversation when you follow up.
And if you remember earlier, I said we were going to share a personal experience of how we were taken advantage of. So this was a little over a year ago. We were in talks with a major credit card company. And the company, they really wanted us to provide concrete examples as to how we could improve their struggling program. So we were really, really excited about this opportunity, dancing in the hotel room.
Yes.
It's our first big opportunity here. So we spent several hours creating great examples and ideas for them. So we send it off, and we're waiting for a response. So 1 week passes, 2 weeks pass, and finally, after a month of not hearing anything, we circled around back to the program just to see what's going on, to see if it maybe just failed or just doesn't exist anymore. But we actually found that they had implemented all of our ideas. Yeah,
Yep.
sad. Without even a thank you.
Nothing.
Or no credit, no credit whatsoever.
Did you reach out to them? Yeah,
So we did reach out to them. We reached out for probably about a month and a half, 2 months, and this isn't even part of the story, but
Yeah.
I mean, and we have to tell this, and they didn't respond. They didn't respond, so I ended up taking it like all the way up to like some high manager, and I was like, at least get like, look, this is what happened. We got taken advantage of by your subordinate, and then within like 10 minutes he responded, but they're like, sorry, we have no use for you. That's it. So we found out we got taken advantage of, and how can you avoid getting taken advantage of? How could we have avoided getting taken advantage of? So the first thing we could have done was keep emotions at bay and remain professional. Because as Terrence said, we're like, yeah, this big brand wants to work with us, and you don't want to let your emotions get the best of you, because you really do want to do a really good job, but you also have to ground yourself and remember that there's more to it than just you and what you have to provide. So it's typical, the brand is probably going to ask you for examples, right? And that's okay, like they asked us, but what we should have done was provided broad examples or incomplete but relevant ideas.
Exactly. So you want to keep them interested, but you don't really want to give them the key to implementing your idea.
And that's really the whole moral of this slide, is you don't want to give them the key to implementing the ideas. Mm-hmm. And if they do push you, which they may, cite confidentiality or intellectual property, and you really, really want to try not to share everything like we did until a contract is signed, because then there's nothing to keep a brand from potentially taking your ideas and running away with it. So finally, this is the slide.
So we live in a day now where we just instant gratification. We send out our email, and we really want that brand to respond immediately. But that's not typically what happens. So if you haven't received a concrete yes or no answer within 7 to 10 days, it's okay to follow up with an email. But we also want to let you know that sometimes a phone call could be the best way. But a lot of people these days could be intimidated by actually having that phone conversation with the brand. But please understand that it happens to me, it happens to all of you. Emails do slip through the cracks, and it's possible that the brand might not have seen your email. So a simple phone call can be the best way to clear all of that up.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to negotiate. So if that brand comes back to you, even if you're small, you do have value, and you want to show them that you're okay to counter what don't counter with something crazy, but counter with something professional. And we see we're running out of time, and I want to save time for questions, but I want to take a quick minute to say, what happens if the brand comes back with a flat-out objection? We're sorry, we don't have room in the budget. Instead of saying thank you, you want to really continue that conversation. That's important. So instead of just saying thank you can still say thank you. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. You want to tell them that you're more than happy to be flexible with what you're offering. Perhaps they think that you want to get paid, or they're going to pay you a lot and they can't afford it, or tell them that you're happy to negotiate if you are. So what if they come back and say that already all their trips are planned for this year? Again, thank them, but don't just leave it at that. Ask them if they have a media mailing list you can be placed on, or you can be considered for a 2018 project, something along that line. And we've actually done this before. Brands have actually circled back around and been like, hey, we have a fit for you now. So these are just a few ways that you can successfully close the deal. And finally, we just want to take a quick second to introduce H21 Connect, which is our brand partner today. They are brand new. It's h21connect.com. You can register and receive a free pitch letter template from today, kind of explaining what we had discussed. And they offer to register and apply is free. Brands post their listings, and they really take the guesswork out of it. So it's really great for everyone starting out, or people like us that are looking to connect with bigger brands in a more easy way. So we're going to open up to questions for a few minutes. All right, just a few. And Archana's going to come back out to.
How you doing? I'm Chef Dennis from Ask Chef Dennis, and I just wanted to say I've worked with H21. They're very easy to work with, great people, and I would highly recommend.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. They are fantastic, truly.
Hi, I'm Jaume from Costa Brava, so I'm a marketing manager. First, congratulate you because it's the most comprehensive presentation I've seen about pitching. Thank you. Well done, really well done, because this is the happen of the brand manager that we receive every day, a lot of emails, and it's more wish list than pitch. So,
yes.
No? So I want to go to Costa Brava, I get it every day, and this is not a pitch, it's a wish. Only one thing, if you can explain to me and to the rest, how do you send the pitch to the right people? Who is the right people in Coca-Cola? Who is the right people in Costa Brava? Who is the right people in Ireland?
Well, to find the right people for pitching, which is a really great question, is to go, we would suggest either, again, DMing on social media, so direct message, who it's okay to ask. It's okay to call up that person and ask. Like if it's a PR companies is a good way to look. So you can type in like for Wow Air when we were looking for contact with them. We wanted to work with the United States PR company. So we just typed in Google Wow Air PR company, and it was there was a press release that came up. We scrolled down to the bottom. We found out the name of a PR company that had worked with Wow. We Googled the name of the PR company, and we called the PR company and said, hello, we'd like to speak with the person who works on the Wow Air account. And they're like, sure, we'll connect you right now. So just a little bit of research on everybody's part makes it easier for everyone. Again, DMing on social media is a great way to get at least an in, or at least knowing the name of the PR company people work with. That's my
Just
best.
to add to that, usually what I do is, since we are all influencers, right? The best way is if you know that somebody has gone there, you get the contact from them and you know who you're talking to. Because remember, if you say hi there versus hi Jiri, so the chances of getting accepted is far more. Like I'll give you one real life example. So after here, I'm going to Czech Republic. So I knew my friends Scott and Megan had gone there. So I reached out to them, although I didn't have much time, like just 10 days in between. But still, the pitch I made and what I, projected them that this is what I can do, it got accepted. So sometimes just knowing, just keeping your eyes open and DMing them, just apply a little bit of mind. As I said earlier, use the 4 questions whenever you're pitching. So that's how we do it.
Hey, it's Kaylin from Travel Yourself. She told me to introduce myself. Question for Archana. You said about working with the brand's calendar, but not everyone goes January to December, and I know a lot of people end in October, and how do you even figure out if their calendar is published online and what their ideas are or what their quarters are? Like, what's a great way to figure that out?
Activity calendar doesn't mean like they're going to put it online. It's usually just going to their website, look at last 1 or 2 years, what they have been doing. Like, for example, in Coca-Cola or any brand per se, like whether it is a FMCG brand, as I said, the first quarter is usually for the brand launches. Any big news which is going to come will come in the first quarter. The mid-quarter...
Kind of guessing.
Guess it, or you can always ask it. Like when I work with magazines, so I always ask them, can you please share your content calendar? So when I'm pitching a story to them, the chances of acceptance are far more. Like for example, I was pitching a story for cherry blossom. So I knew like, okay, in the March or the April issue, it's the cherry blossom time. So I pitched them in January because they planned months in ahead, and the story got published. So sometimes it's just keeping your eyes and mind open and just ask a question. At worst, what will happen? They'll say, hey, we don't have it. But they will say, start the conversation, as they said. Rather than taking a no or a yes, probe them furthermore.
Hi, it's Rob from Travelate. Sorry. Hello, is this on? Can you expand a little bit on the media kits? First off, you mentioned putting them in a body. Are you conventional format in the body or just conversational throughout the email? And then what do you include in there versus what they can find out on their own from whatever resources they have?
So for us personally, for a lot of, and again, our blogging community is all about networking. So I didn't just come up with this on my own. I'm actually, back in the day, took this from other bloggers that were doing it successfully as well. So you really do include everything for them. So for us, I include a little bowl. If you reach out to me at Follow Me Away, I'll send you my pitch email, my pitch letter. It's kind of long, so I didn't want to include it here. But I
showed up anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna show up anyway. But I include about us in a bold, and then a little about us. Then something, I don't know, our website, which gives about our website. It talks about our demographics, our ages of our readers, where they come from, what they're interested in. I include our social media statistics and our website views. We include our past partnerships with Relevance that people might be interested in, so other brands we've worked with. And we include our past features that might pull their eye, like a Condé Nast Traveler or something like that. So if you have anything that is relevant, include it in that. And then I also include everything that we offer to provide.
And are you doing this all in a text format? Or
all in a text format, yes.
So there's no attachments?
There's no attachments. It's bold and just regular text. And honestly, so many brands have come back being like, thank you for sending this. Thank you for having so much information out there for us.
Sweet, thank you.
Okay, so folks, we have time for one more question. I just see a lady here. Good morning. My name is Mary Lou from 20 York Street from Canada. Great presentations, you guys.
Thank
Both of you. I'm really glad that you added a slide about rebuttals, because I believe negotiation is a really integral part of pitching. What if a brand reneges on an offer? And this happened to me recently before coming here. And I'm going to give an example so that it's very tactile. We've agreed on a 1,500 for an Instagram post. And then afterwards we've agreed, they've came back and said, oh, actually, do you think you can do it for 1,300? And I wanted to ask from both the blogger's perspective and the brand's or China, how would you respond to that? Because this has never happened before.
So,
yes.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
Is it one Instagram post? Did you sign a contract?
Before you sign a contract,
You just talked about it?
we agreed on the deal already.
You agreed on the
that's
deal?
That's why it's never happened before that someone has reneged.
Right,
and
right.
I don't know how to respond to it.
That's difficult because there's only one, I guess, thing that you're offering. So if there was going to be, let's just say, 2 posts or some extra social media exposure, we would respond with cut down on what you're offering. So if they're cutting down on what they're offering, then you need to slim down your package as well, and you need to say, all right, instead of 10 tweets, you're only going to get 5 tweets. So we can talk